Hello and welcome to Fowl Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. I'm your host, Boss Goose, and in today's story, we have a DM who develops feelings for OP and inserts themselves into the game as a god, causing the story to veer off course as he tries to force the character into becoming his bride, making OP very uncomfortable. Things continue to unwind as OP resists, and DM starts showing heavy favoritism, gifting powerful items to their character, while mostly ignoring the other players, until eventually, after not getting the results he wanted, he gives an ultimatum. Become his, or the party dies. But before we get to all that, it's time for the God Eater Eating Contest. A simple competition where the one who eats the most in our very short time limit will be crowned with the God Eater title. Here we have our three contestants, each with a massive appetite, but only one of them can win. And this is your chance to guess which one you think has what it takes. Now make your choice and the results will be revealed in 3, 2, 1. And if you chose contestant B, then you guessed correctly and we have crowned our champion. All you can eat cake will be available at the after party. And if you guessed one of the other contestants, then unfortunately you were incorrect, but like them, you will be given a subscriber sash where if you hit that subscribe button, you can get updates on whenever new videos are available on my channel and easy access to a growing collection of content that will keep you all entertained for hours. But without any further delays, it's time for you to take your seats and wet your beaks as we dive on into today's tale. A long one, bear with me. The scene? 5e homebrew pre-COVID in a guy friend's basement. The players: DM, Wizard, Rogue, Cleric, Barbarian. I'm Barbarian. Notable? I'm the only not guy in the party. I'm a butch playing a butch. She was a cool character. Rest in peace. So, I usually DM. I started as a DM and love facilitating my friends having fun and building an epic story together. However, the allure of being on the other side of the table is strong, and I am not immune. So when my guy friends decide they want to play and offered me a slot as a player, I jumped on it. We rolled up a fun party and our characters all wake up on a ship after having been kidnapped. We fight our way to freedom and spend the next sessions making allies and hunting for our kidnappers. Good punchy arc, solid balance of combat and RP, dynamic interparty conflict and bonding. All the makings of a great Saturday night. Then the god started talking to my barbarian. My barbarian has visions. DM is a compelling storyteller. The individual instances of Barbarian's theophanies were gorgeous. Lots of silky, mysterious, "You'd be the perfect champion, if only you devoted yourself to me" speeches. Barbarian, not religious, was frightened. Then the visions became constant. She wasn't getting full long rests because the visions apparently didn't constitute mortal sleep. She kept picking up exhaustion points because the god kept pressing advances. She would sometimes have these visions in the middle of combat, during which time she was effectively stunned, which is not a great thing for the singular tank to be. My party would get absolutely clobbered. This was, again, sometimes cool, even as it started impeding the larger plot progress. Except the guy playing cleric was clearly a little hurt that his character never made contact with his god. He tried. He prayed all the time. We had a whole side plot about finding a shrine in a dense haunted woodland so that he could commune. And the DM gave him the suggestion of wind through leaves. Get this, on the way back from the woodland shrine dead end, Barbarian gets a vision. She's promised divine power and a place in this god's special realm after death, if only she devotes herself to him completely. On the trip we took so that Cleric could have his moment. Barbarian is fully spooked at this point and wants nothing to do with this god. Out of character, I'm trying so hard to assume that this is all part of a big cool story, and that my sinking suspicion isn't true. That the god's romantic gestures towards Barbarian were thinly veiled romantic gestures from the DM to me. Plus, I'm feeling for my friend Cleric. He clearly felt out of the drama and wanted something comparable for his character, if only. Fast forward a few sessions, my character and the DMPC Shopkeep, who's been a prominent side character since session 0, enter a relationship. Butch sword lesbian, ex-femme enchanter lesbian? What's not to love? It was very sweet and the guys in the party had a good time teasing Barbarian about it. Until Barbarian starts getting gifted way overpowered magical items, like this earring will make you resistant to damage by non-magic weapons, and immunity from fire damage. Overpowered, Barbarian was quickly becoming super OP for no good reason. It was at this point that Wizard and Rogue were visibly struggling to vibe. So Barbarian gives them both some of the gifts. When Shopkeep was upset, I had Barbarian say something to the effect of, "These men are my family, and your generosity is keeping them alive, which is keeping me alive." It's at this point that the Shopkeep reveals herself to be a priestess of that god, and that she has only courted Barbarian because Barbarian was the god's chosen champion, and it was her job to groom her for her ascension to Divine Bride. Excuse me? After that session, I grabbed coffee with DM one-on-one. We were friends outside of this, and I wanted to make sure that everything was transparent. I was feeling weird about the in-game attention. Cool campaign, just wanted to step out of the spotlight. DM says, once you multiclass as Paladin, you can play support. Not if, once. I've got no desire to multi as Paladin, and I communicate as much, and stress that I'm looking forward to the next game. I'm having fun. It's still fun. Just want to play as the Hulk Smash Warrior I set out to play. That's all. Next session, we finally catch up with the BBEG, who financed our kidnapping in the beginning. Some rancid Lord type guy. Wizard really brings this on home for us. It's a hard battle, but it's won. Or so we think, until out of the shadows steps Shopkeep Girlfriend. Suddenly, the spilled blood from BBEG's body ignites invisible sigils on the floor. Symbols burn in the air. Shopkeep raises her hands, the room is bathed in light, and suddenly, Barbarian's girlfriend is speaking in a different voice. The gods. BBEG's death was a setup, the necessary sacrifice to bring this god to the prime material plane. Now, the wedding could commence. Session gets called. I'm asked to stick around after everyone else leaves. I do. DM asks me what I thought. I said I thought Wizard kicked ass, and that it was an epic fight, even if the Shopkeep Girlfriend betrayal is brutal. DM specifies, are you excited to be my Divine Bride? DM is a friend of mine. I want to stress that I've known this guy for years. So when I laughed it off, I ignored the "my" and said that Barbarian would die than tie herself to a god. Her loyalties to her brothers, the party. That's that. Next session starts with the god in Shopkeep's body asking Barbarian to be his bride. Barbarian's like, never. The god rips through Barbarian's girlfriend's body, grows tall enough to fill the room, and grapples Barbarian. He simultaneously casts a spell that transforms her armor into a long white gown. A thing known by every guy in the room. I don't wear dresses. I don't play feminine characters. Love dresses, but never on me. It's a whole tangled butch feelings thing. Anyway, I must have visibly recoiled because Wizard, Rogue, and Cleric immediately catch on that I'm not pleased. Rogue hurls a dagger at the god's eye. We roll initiative. We're level 10s with gnarly injuries from our last fight. The god's a god. We do our best. Wizard falls, then Cleric, then Rogue. It's just me, barely up, and the god. The god says, be mine and I'll revive them. Their life, their death, is in your hands. Submit to me. Cower and beg, be my beloved, or send them to hell where they belong. My barbarian says, I'll join my brothers in the fire. The god snaps my barbarian's neck. An argument breaks out immediately. DM wants to know why I let a TPK happen. Like it was my doing? Am I at fault here? Rogue wants to know if us winning was mathematically possible. Wizard, who's usually like LOL vibes, has fully checked out and is on his phone. Cleric is mad at me for having turned the god down if it meant we couldn't play anymore. I just walked out. I was frustrated and more than a little uneasy about things. Like, I left my dice I left so fast. DM texts me later that night and apologizes for the note things ended on. He and the guys decided to start a new campaign, and I was welcome to join. Also, would I be interested in going out with him? Like, heartbreaking. I turned him down, and that was the end of that. I could be reading things wrong, but it really felt like the whole campaign was rewritten halfway through so that DM could hit on me. And that end left an awful taste in my mouth. I had so much fun playing, but everything feels soured in retrospect. I didn't join the next campaign. DM had been friends with me for so long, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I didn't tell our guy friends that he'd made a pass at me. I just drifted away from the group. It's been a few years since then, and I've kept DMing, but I've been nervous about playing again. It's tough to build that trust back. Who knows, maybe one day. TLDR, Guy DM changes game to hit on me, the world's biggest homosexual, and kills the party when I turn him down. You hate to see a campaign take this kind of turn. It's unfortunate that the DM couldn't separate their feelings for OP in real life from their interactions in the game, and end up trying to use the sessions as a vehicle to win her affections. This kind of behavior is a quick way to kill any campaign. By keeping the focus on one player and showing them favoritism with special quests and items, you're going to alienate everyone else at the table, which was definitely starting to happen with OP's party. Not only are you alienating the other players, but that kind of attention is going to make the person uncomfortable as well. Unless they're suffering from major main character syndrome, no one wants to be constantly towing the plot while everyone else kind of just sits and watches. You gotta remember that D&D is a game, and imaginary flirting and gifts aren't going to secure you a relationship of any substance in the real world. And with the history of friendship that DM and OP had shared, it should have been handled in a private conversation between the two of them out of game. Now, if that's where things had ended, then maybe this could have been a salvageable situation, but unfortunately things were taken to the next level when the DM decided that OP's character was going to marry his god, or he was going to TPK the group. OP had indicated a few times they weren't interested in this god's plans for her, and literally said they would rather die. At that point, there were a few ways that DM could have handled the story. The god could have become a major enemy moving forward, they could have shifted their attention to another character in the party who desired it, or even been impressed by the warrior's resolve and allowed the character to represent him in a different way. I give these examples because it's not like the DM had written themselves into a corner here. But instead of any of that, he made the worst choice possible and put OP's resolve to the test by railroading a situation where the party likely had little, if any, hope of winning that confrontation. Like the rogue, I would be curious to see the stats the DM used to see if there was even a chance of victory, though the cynic in me doubts there was. Regardless, it's a sucky position for OP to have been put in both in and out of game, and I feel bad that she felt the need to remove herself from the friend group after the fallout. While it was OP that made the decision, ultimately this responsibility falls on the DM, as they orchestrated the situation in which that decision had to be made. Handled differently, things might have been awkward, but likely not as catastrophic as the results ended up being. I'm glad that OP did end up sticking with the hobby though, and I hope that she finds a group that will help her get her trust back someday. Anyways, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I upload new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. The support is appreciated. But until next time, be good players.